It was amazing, Alex said, his voice brimming with excitement. But I got lost in the museum, and then we almost got attacked by a swan in Central Park, and then Ben and I got separated at the Broadway show. He launched into a detailed account of his trip, embellishing the stories with dramatic gestures and sound effects. Lily listened with wide-eyed wonder, while his parents exchanged amused glances. That evening, the family gathered around the dinner table, and Alex recounted his New York adventures, this time with even more flair. He described the towering skyscrapers, the bustling streets, the dazzling lights of Times Square, and the awe-inspiring Statue of Liberty. He talked about the dinosaurs in the museum, the angry swan in Central Park, the magic of the Broadway show, and the thrill of riding the subway. He also talked about getting lost. He explained how scared he had felt in the museum, wandering through the maze of hallways, and how relieved he was when he finally found his class. He talked about the brief moment of panic at the Broadway show when he and Ben were separated. It was scary, he admitted, but it made me realize how important it is to stay together and look out for each other. His parents listened attentively, nodding and asking questions. They were proud of him for handling the challenges of the trip with such courage and resilience. You learned a lot on this trip, Alex, his dad said. Not just about New York City, but about yourself. Yeah, Alex agreed. I learned that even when things seem scary, you can always find your way through. And I learned that having good friends is the most important thing in the world. Lily, who had been listening intently, piped up. Can we go to New York City someday? She asked. Maybe someday, Alex said, smiling at her. But first, I'm going to show you all the cool places in Maplewood. The next day, Alex went back to school. He couldn't wait to tell his classmates all about his trip. He shared his photos and souvenirs, and he regaled them with stories of his adventures. He even told them about getting lost. He explained how he had learned from his mistakes and how he would be more careful in the future. His classmates were fascinated by his stories. They had never been to New York City, and they were eager to hear all about it. A few weeks later, Maplewood Elementary organized its annual fall field trip to Farmer McGregor's pumpkin patch. Alex was excited to go, but he was also a little nervous. He remembered getting lost in the corn maze in New York City, and he didn't want to get lost again. He talked to Mrs. Davison, his teacher, about his concerns. She reassured him that she would keep a close eye on everyone, and that they would stay together as a class. When they arrived at the pumpkin patch, Alex felt a sense of déjà vu. The corn maze looked just like the one in New York City, with its towering stalks and rustling leaves. He stayed close to his friends, and they navigated the maze together, laughing and having fun. This time, he didn't wander off. He learned from his past experience and made sure to stay with the group. As they walked through the maze, Alex thought about his trip to New York City. He realized that getting lost had been a valuable learning experience. It had taught him the importance of staying together, being prepared, and asking for help when you need it. He also realized that even though getting lost had been scary, it had also led to some amazing experiences. He had met new people, he had seen incredible things, and he had learned more about himself. He had faced his fears and discovered a strength he didn't know he possessed. He had learned to be more independent and resourceful. And he had learned the true meaning of friendship. As he walked through the corn maze with his friends, Alex felt a sense of gratitude. He was grateful for his family, his friends, his teachers, and for all the experiences he had had, both good and bad. He realized that life is full of adventures, and that even the difficult ones can teach us valuable lessons. He never forgot his trip to New York City. It remained a cherished memory, a reminder of his lost and found adventure. He often shared his stories with others, emphasizing the importance of staying together, being prepared, and valuing friendships. He also developed a newfound appreciation for his small town. He realized that while big cities like New York were exciting and full of opportunities, there was a unique charm to his hometown, a sense of community and belonging that he wouldn't trade for anything. Years passed, and Alex grew into a young man. He went on to college, explored different career paths, and eventually returned to Maplewood, where he started his own family. He often took his children to Farmer McGregor's pumpkin patch, sharing stories of his own childhood adventures and the lessons he learned about getting lost and found. He would tell them about his trip to New York City, about the towering skyscrapers, the bustling streets, the dazzling lights, and the friendly people. He would tell them about getting lost in the museum, the Swan incident in Central Park, and the time he and Ben got separated at the Broadway show. And he would always emphasize the importance of staying together, being prepared, and valuing friendships. He would tell them that even when you are lost, there is always hope of being found, and that sometimes, getting lost can lead to the most amazing discoveries. And as he shared these stories, Alex realized that his lost and found adventure in New York City wasn't just a memory. It was a part of him, a story that shaped him into the person he was, a reminder that even the most unexpected detours in life can lead to the most beautiful destinations. And he knew, deep down, that the lessons he learned during that trip would stay with him forever, guiding him on all the adventures that life had in store. As Alex grew older, the physical map of New York City that he had kept as a souvenir faded and frayed. But the map within him, the one etched in his memory, remained vivid. It wasn't just a map of streets and landmarks, it was a map of experiences, of emotions, of lessons learned. It was a map that guided him, not just through physical spaces, but through the labyrinth of life itself. He learned to navigate challenges with the same resourcefulness he had displayed during his lost moments. He understood that getting lost wasn't always about physical location. Sometimes, you could be lost in your thoughts, lost in your dreams, lost in your fears. And just like in the corn maze or the museum, the key was to stay calm, assess the situation, and look for a way out. He carried the spirit of adventure with him, embracing new opportunities and challenges with the same enthusiasm he had felt stepping onto the bus to New York City. He understood that life was a journey of exploration, and that getting lost along the way was sometimes part of the process. Alex also understood the importance of connection. His experience in New York had reinforced the value of friendship, the comfort of family, and the kindness of strangers. He realized that we are all connected, like threads in a vast tapestry, and that even seemingly small acts of kindness can have a profound impact. He made it a point to nurture his relationships, to be there for his friends and family, just as they had been there for him during his lost moments. He also extended his kindness to others, remembering the museum guard, who had helped him find his class, the woman in the museum uniform, who had guided him back to his group. He understood that we are all on this journey together, and that helping each other along the way is what makes life meaningful. Even though he lived far from New York City, the echoes of the city remained with him. The energy, the diversity, the sheer scale of the place had left an indelible mark on his soul. He remembered the vibrant street performers, the dazzling Broadway shows, the quiet beauty of Central Park. He carried these memories with him, not as a longing for something he had lost, but as a source of inspiration. He understood that the world was vast and full of wonders, and that even though he had chosen to live in a small town, he could still experience the magic of the world through books, through travel, and through the connections he made with others. Getting lost in New York City had given Alex a unique perspective on life. It had taught him humility, resilience, and the importance of appreciating the present moment. He learned that life is full of uncertainties, and that sometimes things don't go according to plan. But it's in those moments of uncertainty that we have the opportunity to grow, to learn, and to discover our inner strength. He learned to embrace the unexpected, to see challenges as opportunities for growth, and to find joy in the simple things. He learned to appreciate the beauty of his small town, the warmth of his family, and the loyalty of his friends. As Alex grew older, he shared his stories with younger generations. He volunteered at schools, talking to children about his experiences, sharing his photos and souvenirs, and emphasizing the importance of staying together, being prepared, and valuing friendships. He told them about the time he got lost in New York City, not to scare them, but to show them that even when things seem scary, there is always a way through. He told them about the kindness of strangers, the support of his friends and family, and the lessons he learned about courage, resilience, and the importance of connection. He encouraged them to explore the world, to embrace new experiences, and to learn from their mistakes. He told them that getting lost sometimes is part of the journey, and that it's in those moments that we discover who we truly are. One day, Alex received a letter from his old fourth-grade teacher, Mrs. Peterson. She was retiring and was cleaning out her classroom. She had come across a box of student projects, and she found Alex's drawing of the Statue of Liberty, which he had made after his trip to New York City. She wrote that she remembered him as a bright and curious boy, and that she was proud of all that he had accomplished. She said that his story had stayed with her over the years, and that she often shared it with her students as an example of courage and resilience. Reading the letter brought a wave of nostalgia over Alex. He remembered the excitement of the trip, the fear of getting lost, the joy of being reunited with his friends. He realized that his experience in New York City had come full circle. It had started as a childhood adventure, and it had become a story that he could share with others, a story that could inspire and encourage them on their own journeys. Alex's lost and found adventure in New York City became a part of his legacy. It wasn't just a story he told, it was a part of who he was. It shaped his values, his relationships, and his outlook on life. It taught him the importance of connection, the power of resilience, and the beauty of embracing the unexpected. And as he shared his story with others, he realized that it wasn't just his story. It was a universal story, a story about the challenges and triumphs of life, about the importance of friendship and family, and about the courage it takes to navigate the unknown. It was a story that resonated with people of all ages, a story that reminded them that even when they feel lost, they are never truly alone. And that, perhaps, was the most important lesson of all. The journey of life, with all its twists and turns, its lost moments and its found treasures, is a journey best traveled together. Years turned into decades, and Alex's hair, once sandy brown, turned silver. His vibrant energy mellowed into a quiet strength, a wisdom that came from a life well lived. He still lived in Maplewood, in the same house where he had grown up, now filled with the laughter of his grandchildren. He often sat on the porch swing, watching the world go by, his mind drifting back to the echoes of his New York adventure. The whispers of time had softened the edges of his memories, but the core of the experience remained sharp. He remembered the feeling of being lost, the knot of fear in his stomach, the overwhelming sense of being alone in a vast and unfamiliar place. But he also remembered the relief of being found, the warmth of Mrs. Peterson's hug, the joy of reuniting with Ben. These memories weren't just about a trip to New York City. They were metaphors for life itself. Life, like a vast city, could be overwhelming and confusing. There were times when you felt lost, unsure of which way to turn, unsure of your place in the world. But just like Alex had found his way back to his class, we all have the potential to find our way back to ourselves, back to our purpose, back to the people we love. Alex's life was a tapestry woven with threads of different colors and textures. There were threads of joy and sorrow, of triumph and failure, of love and loss. But all these threads, even the dark ones, contributed to the richness and complexity of the tapestry. His trip to New York City was just one thread in this tapestry, but it was a significant one. It was a thread that represented courage, resilience, and the importance of connection. It was a thread that reminded him that even in the face of adversity, there is always hope, always a way forward. As Alex reflected on his life, he realized that the lessons he learned during his lost and found adventure in New York City had stayed with him throughout the years. He had learned the importance of being prepared, of paying attention to his surroundings, of asking for help when he needed it. He had learned the value of friendship, the comfort of family, and the kindness of strangers. But most importantly, he had learned the importance of staying true to himself, of trusting his instincts, and of never giving up, even when things seemed hopeless. These were lessons that he had carried with him through all the ups and downs of life, lessons that had guided him through difficult times and helped him to appreciate the good times even more. Alex watched his grandchildren grow, their laughter echoing through the house, just as his own children's laughter had filled the rooms years ago. He saw the cycle of life continuing, the passing of time, the changing of seasons. He understood that life was a journey, a continuous process of learning, growing, and evolving. He realized that his trip to New York City wasn't just a single event in his life. It was a part of a larger narrative, a story that was still being written. And just as the city itself was constantly changing and evolving, so too was his own life, a continuous journey of discovery and growth. Even as his body grew weaker, Alex's spirit remained strong. He continued to share his stories with his grandchildren, passing on the lessons he had learned about courage, resilience, and the importance of connection. He told them about his lost and found adventure in New York City, not as a nostalgic tale, but as a parable for life. He wanted them to understand that life is full of challenges, that there will be times when they feel lost and confused. But he also wanted them to know that they are not alone, that there are people who care about them, and that there is always a way through, if they are willing to be brave, to be resourceful, and to stay connected to the people they love. Alex's legacy wasn't just about the stories he told. It was about the way he lived his life, the kindness he showed to others, the resilience he displayed in the face of adversity. It was about the hope he instilled in those around him, the belief that even in the darkest of times, there is always light to be found. His lost and found adventure in New York City became a symbol of this hope, a reminder that even when we feel lost, we are never truly lost as long as we carry within us the values of courage, resilience, and connection. And these values, he knew, would live on long after he was gone, passed down through generations, a legacy of hope for all who dared to embark on the great adventure of life. The time came when Alex's journey on this earth came to an end. He passed away peacefully, surrounded by his family, his heart filled with love and gratitude. He had lived a long and fulfilling life, a life marked by adventure, connection, and the enduring spirit of hope. His funeral was a celebration of his life, a gathering of family and friends who had been touched by his kindness, his wisdom, and his unwavering belief in the goodness of humanity. His grandchildren shared stories of their grandfather, remembering his infectious laughter, his wise advice, and his captivating tales of his New York adventure. Even after Alex was gone, his echoes continued to resonate. His stories were passed down through generations, his values lived on in the hearts of those he had touched. His lost and found adventure in New York City became a family legend, a reminder of the importance of courage, resilience, and connection. And every time someone felt lost, unsure of which way to turn, they remembered Alex's story. The story of a young boy who got lost in the big city and found his way back home. And they knew that if he could do it, so could they. Alex's life, like a map, was filled with twists and turns, with unexpected detours and hidden pathways. He had experienced moments of joy and sorrow, of triumph and failure, of connection and loss. But through it all, he had carried with him the lessons he learned during his lost and found adventure in New York City. He had learned that life is a journey, not a destination. He had learned that getting lost sometimes is part of the process. And he had learned that the most important thing is to stay connected to the people you love, to embrace the unexpected, and to never give up on the hope of finding your way back home. Alex's legacy wasn't just about the stories he told. It was about the way he lived his life, the values he instilled in others, and the hope he left behind. His lost and found adventure in New York City became a symbol of this hope, a reminder that even when we feel lost, we are never truly lost as long as we carry within us the courage to keep searching, the resilience to keep going, and the connection to the people we love. And that legacy, the legacy of the lost and found, would endure, a beacon of hope for generations to come. The world continued to spin, seasons changed, and generations came and went. Alex's story, the tale of his New York adventure, became interwoven with the fabric of his family's history, a thread passed down through whispered words and shared memories. It wasn't just a story, it was a touchstone, a reminder of resilience, the power of connection, and the enduring human spirit. When Ethan was old enough, he made the journey. He stood in Times Square, the cacophony of sounds and lights swirling around him, and he thought of his grandfather, a young boy wide-eyed with wonder. He visited the American Museum of Natural History, imagining his grandfather lost amongst the dinosaur skeletons, a moment of fear that transformed into a lesson of resilience. He walked through Central Park, picturing the angry swan and the shared laughter with friends. Ethan didn't just see the city, he felt it. He felt the echoes of his grandfather's experiences, the whispers of the past mingling with the vibrant present. He understood that the city wasn't just a collection of buildings and streets, it was a living, breathing entity, a repository of countless stories, both big and small. While Ethan embraced the urban landscape, his sister, Sarah, felt a stronger connection to their rural roots.